Fakes it. His shot tipped in front, loose. Oh my goodness! And somehow that stayed up too. They're on their feet in Calgary. Have not been able to get it done. Lindros left it in the middle of Calgary's second.
Took away what appeared to be a
brought to you by Molson Brewers, brewers of Northern Canadian, bringing you the finest in hockey broadcasting for over 25 years. Canadian Tire. There's a lot more to Canadian Tire than tires. Canadian General Electric. We bring good things to life.
Doug Wilson rifles it. Rebound!
You make us better. And by Ford of Canada. At Ford, quality is job one.
Here he is, carrying the mail to the Penguins zone. And hit the post, rebound, score, Savage. Are they going to roll?
Hockey Night in Canada. Brought to you by Molson, working together for 200 years. Molson salutes you, Canada. Esso with over...
Hey guys, it's Two Guys in Hockey Talk. I'm Pavel
and I'm Evan. And guys, we got another great show for you. Our roundtable we are putting aside, and we are giving you the NHL playoff edition until the end of the Stanley Cup Finals. So, hey, Pavel, before we get started, we got a couple returning guests, which I'm super pumped to have some battle talk about some of these playoff series that have already started. However, one of the things, guys, we want to let you all know that we realize some of you are recording these games, so we're just going to basically not talk about the games within the last 12 to, say, 20 hours, pretty much, just so you guys have a heads up. However, I want you to grab your bevy, throw back the peanuts, and get ready, guys, because we got a show for you. All right, Pavel, start us off, bud.
Well, I mean, first off, Lou Lamoriello allows beards for the playoffs. So what's your excuse this week, Evan?
I can't grow one.
That's okay. That's okay. But we have another famous fellow who doesn't also want to grow a beard. Mike Smith, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, boys. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for coming on. How are you feeling? What's going on? Tell us a little bit about yourself. And are you excited about the Boston-Washington series?
Well, you notice I put my hat on, just deference to my wife, an Oilers fan. But yeah, I'm pumped about it. I mean, you know, that first game was a humdinger, and obviously Hall coming on board. Gives us all more hope, I think, on the Bruins side of the fence. And full disclosure, I'm a very biased Bruins fan, so I'll try to work through that as we go through the analysis today. Awesome. For sure.
No, fair enough. It was a great game one and a fantastic game two, and I'm looking forward to the remainder of the series because that's one of the ones that I think is tooth and nail going to go to game 7. But Jake, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Woo-hoo. Thanks for having me back, Pavel and Evan. I appreciate it.
Welcome back. I see you got some Oilers memorabilia, but what are you wearing? Who's that C?
Ooh, it's Sidney Crosby, my boy in Steel City. Woo! They pulled the win off last night. They tied the series up. Let's go.
Yeah, that was an exciting series. Are you enjoying the playoffs so far?
Oh, absolutely. It feels great to have some playoff puck. We even had like a great snowstorm last night. It just felt like we were in the middle of October and starting all over again.
Just getting the ice ready, right, Jacob?
Oh, absolutely. Right back onto the outdoor rink for sure.
Right. We can't have patio season, so we might as well get some snow back, right? So we've got a big show. Evan, do you want to take us through what we're going to kind of discuss?
Yeah, so we want to go through kind of the playoff rounds and work this in here so we can have some discussion. The guys are going to have some hot takes on some different stuff that's happening. We're going to have some discussion, say Washington, Boston. We want to talk about Tom Wilson as he continues his ways. So whatever we got, we're just going to throw at you. We're going to try to get as many of these in as we can, but we're going to start, I believe we've talked about, we want to start in the East. With the first year, and we're going to try and work through. We are going to try to also touch base on the North Division, which just starts tonight. We're keeping everything silent if you're recording the game and watching us, because we know two guys in Hockey Talk is your priority. But we'll try to get some talk in there because we want to hear the hot take within this room of, is the North Division a strong team and can they be competitive? So, all right, where should we start, Pavel, for the East here?
Well, since Mike's a big Boston fan, and he's got the inside knowledge about what's going on there, and he's probably got Bruce Cassidy's ear or cell phone, who knows. We wanted to know his take on the series so far. It's 1-1. What are you thinking of the Bruins? What are you thinking of the competition against the Washington Capitals? How do you see the series stacking up versus one another? Any standout players, things like that? Give us your hot take.
So, yeah, I think there's a couple keys, and these are pretty standard. I've been listening to some podcasts out of Beantown, and obviously Washington trying to pound the Bruins physically, especially the small Bruins defense, is always a risk, right, for the Bruins. But I think that's a key. I'm not sure how far Washington can take that. Carlson's playing hurt. Kuznetsov is out, obviously. And so I'm not sure how far and long they can play that way, so that remains to be seen. The other thing is with Washington, they didn't have good goaltending to begin with, right? With Vanacek and Samsonov, and now they're down to a 40-year-old guy. He turns 40, I think, on the 21st of this month, and I love him to death. We all love him, but gosh, the Bruins obviously have the upside as far as goalies go. But I think that, notwithstanding Washington picked up some key players too, but I think Taylor Hall is really the key. It was funny what Bieksa yesterday post-game said, Taylor Hall tried that inside-outside triangle move for the 85th time, and I had said, he's trying to do too much. But that play when he went around Carlson on the boards and just grind it to the net, I think was important because it showed let's not try to do too much. But I think with Hall is that, like Rich Peverley in 2011 and Michael Ryder back in 2011, he allows guys like Jake DeBrusk to have softer spots, right? So DeBrusk is playing against 5-6 guys. He's playing against fourth-line guys. And we've seen it. The first game, DeBrusk is in on the forecheck faster, et cetera. And so I think that's going to be a key factor in this series. And then the other thing with Hall, the Bruins have not had anybody who can rush the puck on offense, and as long as I can remember. And watching the Caps yesterday, I watched, Carlson, et cetera, they had to be honest. So they weren't pinching, they weren't being aggressive. They had to get back to the red line, especially when Hall was on the ice. But guys, the biggest thing I noticed, ever since watching Hall come over, I was concerned about, is Hall going to fit in? But on the overtime win yesterday, when Marchand scored, did you see what he did after the goal? He skated to the bench and jumped into the arms of Taylor Hall. Like literally 4 feet off the ice. And so for me, of everything, that's the biggest thing. Is Taylor Hall's fitting in well? He's an elite player, obviously. And so I'm optimistic that as he continues to get better with each game, that the Bruins are a much deeper, flexible team, especially up front.
Wow. So, okay, so let's, and you guys, everyone can jive in here too. The whole Tom Wilson shenanigans that are going on. We saw was it game 2, the hit on Lazar. Some people are saying it's a clean. That's an NHL hit. Is it not? I mean, he is such a good distraction. Oh, by the way, I just want to bring up a quick point here on Taylor Hall. Is that playoffs, as much as he gets 0.89 until his time with Buffalo, he make points per game in the regular season. He's only had a couple short playoff ones, but in 5 games for Jersey during that season, and they lost that round, 6 points. 9 games with Arizona last year, he had 6, just a little below. And I just see he's right at that same page, except if we look back to his history, he is driven in those big games, and that's one of the things he's been struggling with some of these teams. I believe Alex Thomas was on Oilers Rig blogger, and he was, I think, just a couple weeks ago, and he was talking that he's pretty certain that they're going to re-sign Hall if Hall will do it. And I actually kind of really wonder if they're going to have that inside track. But then what happens to Jake DeBrusk? That's a different conversation. So anyway, guys, throw some things in here regarding what's your thoughts here on what's happening with this. Do you think that Wilson is just a distraction? Do you think he's going to get in the minds of the Bruins? An old goalie? And who was the goalie? Tim Thomas. Talk about age. Interesting. Come on in on this, Jacob. What do you think?
Oh, man. Mike has all the passion for the Bruins Cap series, and I can appreciate that. But with all due respect, it's the one series that I'm like, whatever. So, I'm happy that you had so much to say about it, because I'm like, I don't really care who wins that series. Just beat each other up, make it be 7 games, and then on your way to the next, so I can have someone else from the East come up.
Okay, Pavel, it's over to you, and Jacob will cut in on the next series.
Oh man, Jake. Okay, I see how it is. Well, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, Mike, but I feel like the Washington Capitals can outplay the Boston Bruins and out-bully them. I mean, they've got side. I mean, on top of Ovechkin having a big hit in Game 1 and coming out like he looked like he was on fire, ready to dominate. You know, the team played well. You know, TJ Oshie having that O-time winner, you know, beautiful, especially, you know, the recent history of his dad. I mean, Washington and Boston, it's a tight series. They're both big teams. They're both physical teams. So whoever comes out of that series and plays whoever's next, they're definitely going to be banged up. Goaltending, I do give to the Boston Bruins because I think Tuukka Rask can play elite, and I think he's shown that in the previous playoffs that he's performed, right? You know, and Samsonov being out, you know, Craig Anderson coming in, you know, good for him, especially since here in Edmonton we got Mike Smith coming in at 38, 39, you know, you want to make sure he's good. But I think what it comes down to is special teams and what's going to happen between the two teams. I think that's where whoever wins those will win this series. I honestly, I don't know how, but I think it'll go to Game 7. And I'm just excited to watch the series because it was the first game of the playoffs. Wilson was the first one to score the goal. His antics work, regardless of what you think. And he's a great skater for his size, for a guy his, you know, for who he is. And he can put the puck in the net. So, I don't know. He does what he needs to do. I'm just waiting for Marchand to turn it on so they can have a little battle.
Okay, I got to throw this back to Mike here. Mike, I was just thinking as he was talking about the Washington Capitals, they're going to bully them. All I know, when I went to school, bullies ended up in detention, and I would pick the super pest over the super bully. Mike, what do you think? You got to get one last shot here.
Well, you know what? Watching Game 1, I could not help but think of 2010, 2011, the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, Brad Marchand bullying the Sedins. It was the exact same thing. You get a bully team, and let's face it, they're probably the weakest Stanley Cup winner in the last 10, 15 years, right? But they bullied teams, and that's how they won. And they did it over Vancouver, had a very similar team what the Bruins are today. And so it made me appreciate and not get as frustrated watching Wilson with his antics. But, you know, we'd all love to have Wilson on our team, right?
Exactly. I think I don't know many people that would say no to that. Okay, let's get to the next series. What do we got, Pavel?
Well, we could talk a little bit about Pittsburgh and Islanders. So that series now is tied. Jake, what are your takes on the series? Can Crosby lead the Pittsburgh Penguins to the promised land one more time? With, of course, Malkin is injured right now, so I think he was scratched in the last game, so he didn't play. But can he do it, or can the Islanders and Barry Trotz, more specifically, outcoach Pittsburgh because he knows that system so well? You know, cough, cough. The Washington Capitals ex-coach.
Okay, I'm actually really glad that you jumped to that one next because I feel like that will bring the reason why I don't really care about the Boston series is because I want that to be a 7-game. Everybody's injured because the winner will play the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Whoa!
And the Penguins will come out of the Eastern Division. Out to what is going to be the conference finals, or not really that this year. Can Crosby do it? Yes, but Crosby's going to have some supporting cast help. Everyone is talking about how amazing Taylor Hall has been as a deadline acquisition, but let's have a quick chat about another deadline acquisition that is doing wonderful things that are flying under the radar. One named Jeff Carter in games with the Pittsburgh Penguins. With him on the roster. They're 10-4-1. He has 10 goals and 13 points in those 15 games. He slotted in as the number 2 center while Malkin was out the first 2 games and has done a great job, including the game-winning goal. So I think that Jeff Carter is some of the, what's the word I want to say here? Secondary scoring that Pittsburgh has shown in the past to supplement their top-end talent of Malkin and Letang and Crosby and Tristan Jarry picked up his first career playoff win, and I think that everything's going up Pittsburgh right now. So I'm happy.
Fair enough. Well, Evan, you're wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. What are your thoughts on the Pens?
And it's the greatest captain and the greatest player of all time, Mario Lemieux. Not Lepew. All right. So, guys, so I just want to say I have been a Pittsburgh fan, so I am biased here, obviously. But if you look at the work now, it's going to be interesting on the Malkin front. But I want to say 15 years Malkin and Crosby have been together. That strength, that knowing, that chemistry. So and still playing these games without Malkin when it's going to be like adding another superstar because he is. I think one of the most underrated players in the history of the NHL for people that can actually believe what he can do. 3 Stanley Cups. Think of that. 3 Stanley Cups that they've had during this period of time. And when this is interesting, and I don't know if it's just coincidence or what it is, but when Hextall and Burke went in there, man, I thought they were out of the playoffs. They were not in. And so I was pumped to see how well they improved and the changes they made to take the first overall in this. I mean, that's amazing. So their defense, they're playing team defense again. And they just seem to always have depth and guys that who are these guys? They're nobodies and they become somebodies. Their system is incredible, and I think that they're hungry this year. So I'm leaving it at that. I think I'm going to come in with Jacob, my buddy, my bro, my pit bro, and.
So do we not agree that Sullivan deserves to be coach of the year every year? I mean, with what he's done with that team.
I do. I'm there. People are going for Quinville, but
that's fair. That's fair. But Mike, can we not? What's it called? Do we underestimate the Islanders and the defensive system that they have in play and what they have done, especially with these no-name reclamation project goalies that they've brought in and continually allowed them to succeed? And somehow they had Pittsburgh's number last year and sweeping the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, 2 years ago. Sorry, last year it was Montreal, right? What do we think of the Islanders?
Since they lost Anders Lee, they're a different team, right? They don't have the offensive punch they had before. And I completely agree with Sullivan, is that they brought a structure to their game. Even not having one of the greatest players that ever played in Malkin. I mean, let's all agree, right? They've still been able to be successful. And
right.
Jake, your point about Jeff Carter, I mean, he's a beauty. You know, as a Canadian and fan of the Olympics, he's shown up in every level in every way. So it's hard not to like Pittsburgh, and we all love Sidney Crosby. And so anytime Bruins play Pittsburgh in the playoffs, it's tough for me to watch. It's almost like a win-win, but no, I think the Islanders it's going to be a challenge for them to beat Pittsburgh. I'd be surprised if that went beyond 5 games, to be honest, this year. So no, I'd expect Pittsburgh to get out of that relatively unscathed.
So you're looking forward to seeing Bergeron face McDavid or Crosby at the face-off line instead of Ovechkin, right? Or I guess you're going to have what's it called, Kuznetsov.
Yeah, Bergey's had it pretty easy this first round against Washington, but yeah, different story against Sid, that's for sure.
So
go ahead, Evan.
I was just gonna throw it back to you, Pavel. You've said from the beginning of the year, and I should state that to everyone here at Two Guys in Hockey Talk listening. At the beginning of the year, you were very pro on the Islanders. You liked a lot of their moves. You really like what Lou's been doing, and I don't think anyone can disagree with it. So we're a couple games in. You're just kind of seeing what's happening. Give us your hot take. What are you seeing that's good, that's bad? Your concerns,
Yeah, no, fair enough. So, I mean, I like the trade acquisitions, Kyle Palmieri coming in, like from the Devils. I mean, he's a typical Lou guy, like, exactly what you want in structure. And he did end up scoring one of the goals in the last game, if not the game-winning goal. I can't remember. There's so many games happening right now. But it's hard to keep up with all of them. I think the Islanders now have a structure, and I think when it comes back to coaching, Barry Trotz, knowing the history between the Caps and the Pittsburgh Penguins, he can outcoach, and he did a few times against Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think that's where the challenge is. The problem I think that both teams have in this series is goaltending, and whichever team has the better goaltending, whether it's Tristan Jarry, Casey DeSmith on the Pittsburgh side, or it's Varlamov, and I'm not going to know who the backup is.
Sorokin.
Okay, Sorokin, yeah.
Sorokin.
I don't know, if Sorokin or Varlamov can out-goalie one another, but that series is based on goaltending. That's what I see it as. So Islanders have a chance. I look forward to seeing the Islanders, given that they gave the Tampa Bay Lightning the hardest challenge last year in the bubble. But this year, I mean, yeah, you're right, Mike. Without Anders Lee, their captain, and someone who is a pillar in that team, it's going to be tough, right? You're missing a big portion. And with Jeff Carter coming in, I mean, he didn't want to leave LA, but he's had a resurgence of a career. And, he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. How can you not bet against them, right? So Ron Hextall and Brian Burke, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Well, it's interesting what's going to happen in Pittsburgh, just because they were saying Burke was all over on the radios and TV and everything saying they're going to evaluate at the end of the year. So, I mean, this will be interesting because the playoffs are going to dictate a lot, not finishing first, but actually the playoffs. So, hey, something interesting too, these first 2 games, Barzal has not scored a point. That's a big deal when Barzal doesn't have a point on the board. I didn't realize that. I just went back and just checked our stats in the last couple of games. But yeah, that's an interesting piece. I mean, last year he had 17 points in those 22 games, so he's a central factor. And I'm with you, Mike. It's just like when Lee went out, yeah, that I am shocked. He's another underrated player that I think out on that team. So, well, just looking at our time, Pavel, why don't we move over to Colorado? And let's talk about their series.
Colorado. All right. Well, Colorado and St. Louis Blues played their first game, and it was insane. It was fun. Jake, what are your thoughts on that first game?
It's kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be. With all due respect to the St. Louis Blues, and they're not that far. They're not that. They're fairly recently removed from being Stanley Cup champions. 2019 isn't that long ago. To be 2 years removed, the level in their division of where they're at, they barely just they're fighting for their playoff lives just to get into the playoffs this year. Losing Pietrangelo to Vegas last year didn't help on the back end. I just think there's a little more questions in St. Louis, and I don't think they have as deep of a team that they're used to having. Honestly, I think that the Avs are just going to, like, there'll be barely a speed bump. It might be a 5-game series, might. The Avs are just getting going. I don't like to throw out perfect teams, and I have a buddy that's a die-hard Avs fan that is just chomping at the bit for them to make a nice deep run. So I'm hearing it all the time about all the pro Colorado things, and I have to say at this point I agree. Like, they're about as complete a team as you're going to find in the playoffs this year. And if I had to make like a really far away prediction of like who the cup favorite would be, it would be the Avalanche. So.
Okay, well, Mike, then the question is in the past few years, the President's Trophy teams have lost and gotten out of the playoffs. So why do you think that Colorado isn't going to advance to the final like Jake is predicting?
Well, I think this first round, St. Louis is going to have a tough time against Colorado's top 4 D-men. So, you think about Taves and McCarr and Girard and Ryan Graves. Really tough to get in on the forecheck with those guys, right? And you're going to ramp up McCarr's ice time to 25, 26, 27 minutes a game. And so that's going to be really difficult. I think the risk with Colorado is only in goaltending. I know Colorado made a move to get Johansson, who the writer from The Athletic in Buffalo, I can't remember his name, called him the worst goaltender Buffalo has had in the last 19 years. So Grubauer is going to, and interesting point, Grubauer won the Memorial Cup with Taylor Hall back in 2010. I read that yesterday, a little tidbit.
Wow,
but
I forgot about that. That's amazing. That's right.
Right, and so I think Grubauer's, they'll ride that horse all the way through and pray that he doesn't get hurt. But I think that top 4 and D, especially against St. Louis, is going to carry them a long way. And then obviously, their forwards are just lights out of this. And so I agree with Jake. I think Colorado's tough to bet against getting to the finals. And the other thing is, just getting back to the Bruins, the way it looks is Bruins, whoever, they could be, 4th place coming into the semis. And anybody that has to play Colorado in the semis, I think, is going to be in big trouble.
So what you're saying is that Colorado top line is an almost perfect line, like the Boston Bruins line?
I would say perfection plus at this stage of their careers.
Wow. Wow. So I just looking at the stats. Think of this. So Colorado, for goals against, they were the 3rd best team. The only ones better than them were New York. They had 132 goals scored against them. The only ones better were New York with 125 and Vegas with 122, which, by the way, that's why I throw my hat into Fleury to be the Vezina winner. That's for me. There we go. Vegas, baby. Vegas, baby. And so to our friend Willard Reeves, former running back of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, his son Ryan Reeves plays for the Golden Knights. He's going to be excited to see what turns out in this series. But anyway, so Colorado, but when it comes to goals for, they are the number 1 team. They scored 197, and I didn't know this, guys. Pittsburgh scored 193. They were the number 2 overall scoring, and that's with players like Malkin being injured. So when I look at what Colorado's doing, I can't see St. Louis winning a single game in this first round. What are you thinking there, Pavel?
I mean, 100%. I mean, the thing with St. Louis is that you need your top line producing, and Riley and O'Reilly and Jason Schwartz and I forget, or Tarasenko, I think, is back. I mean, I think he's still dealing with that shoulder injury. I don't think he's 100%. I could be wrong. They need to perform and they need to score, and they can do their best. But like with what Colorado brings, that team, they've got Alex Newhook playing already, and he's been incredible with what he's done. I think Colorado's got that series in a lock, but we'll see. I think Bennington played unreal in the first game, but you can only do so much as a goaltender, as we all know. In the playoffs, you need depth, you need scoring, you need defense, things like that.
Coming back to Grubauer, so we got 39 games played. He had 30 wins in the season, a 1.95 goals against. So 0.922, so 92 point something percent of our saves. I mean, yeah, 7 shutouts. I mean, that's it makes you wonder how they can actually think Vasilevsky is going to actually win the Vezina this year. Not the Vezina. I keep talking about all the players winning Vezinas. Former goalie.
But Evan, we got the North to talk about because that's getting started and that's going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, we better hit it. Let's do it.
You've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and you've got the Edmonton Oilers and Winnipeg. So we'll save that series for last. But I think Toronto and Montreal, I really want to get Mike and Jacob's perspective on that series, what's going to happen, and why Toronto's going to lose, just for our fans like Desmond and some other Hans, like Hans who watches the show, because, they're going to lose in 5, right, or 4. Jake, what do you think?
I'm gonna give them a little more credit, and this is probably more so me hoping as well. I don't want it to be a short series, regardless of the outcome. I don't want 4 or 5 games. I want 6, and more likely 7. 6 is my prediction for the Leafs. I don't know what Carey Price's timeline looks back. Because
he's starting game 1.
Okay. Gallagher got assigned to the AHL team, so I'm not sure what his timeline for return looks like.
Game 1.
What's that?
Game 1. Both of those guys are coming back in game 1.
Yep, they're both just scheduled.
Yeah.
But on that note, that's some reinforcements coming from Montreal. I'm hoping that, honestly, I just want them to bang and crash. That Toronto and Montreal series is the exact same for me as the Capitals and Bruins series. I want bang, crash, injuries, boom. I want them to beat the crap out of each other, and so that it's 7 games, and then the team that faces them in the second round, in this case, hopefully the Oilers and the Penguins, will then win their each respective divisions. That's what I'm hoping for.
Fair enough. But Mike, since you love Montreal so much, because we all know.
Oh, yes.
How much are they going to win the series or not?
So there's a lot of ifs here. If Carey Price was healthy, right, and we watched him in the highlights from the AHL game the other night, he didn't look great. Not a lot of support, but he didn't look great. Either did Gallagher, but they're not healthy. If they were playing before fans, if you're going into Game 3 in Montreal and there were 20,000 screaming fans, I'd give them 1 just based on emotion, but that's not going to happen. I think the only hope Montreal has, if they go into this series, they clutch grab, they try to physically grind Toronto, and the refs let them play, then maybe there's a chance. But if the refs start calling penalties and Toronto's power play gets going, then Montreal has no chance. I don't see this going beyond 5 games.
Wow.
Zero chance.
I think they announced that Game 6, they're going to have 2,500 fans or whatever the percentage is at the Bell Center, I think it is. Yeah. So we'll see if it goes to Game 6, right? I know people are writing him off, but I mean, if you guys were, Dominic Ducharme right now, would you start Carey Price or would you give Jake Allen Game 1? Jake, what are your thoughts?
See, I like what Jake Allen did. Their signing of Jake Allen, the trade for Jake Allen was amazing last year in retrospect because it gave them an option to rest Carey Price, because a rested Carey Price, as we saw in the bubble last year, is when Carey Price is caliber. It's when he's at an MVP level. I think that the smart choice would be to let Allen take Game 1 and just give Price the extra day, the extra 2 days, whatever it is, to get as healthy as he can and take the series running, because that's their best shot. Jake Allen did a good job with St. Louis in mop-up work when he needed to for Bennington during his rookie season run there to the Cup, but he's not meant to be the starter. It's meant to be provide some relief for Price, and then Price will be hopefully at his best. I'm hoping to stand on his head, and it would be incredible to see the Bell Center, even with 2,500 fans, for a Game 6. I'm hoping for that. from a it'll just be inspiring from a Canadian level because that's the only team that's announced any sort of fan plan for the playoffs so far.
Sure.
And I just want to see it. So I don't want to see a 5-game or a 4-game series for the Habs and the Leafs. I want to see 6 or 7. I would love to see the Habs emotions running high and just run the Leafs out of the building, and then it's a take-all game 7, and I don't know. We'll see what happens from there.
But that's what makes
it's possible half those fans would be Toronto fans. Go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
No, no, that's cool. So that's to me the exciting part of playoff hockey. Like or hated team, it's kind of like you have face or heel in wrestling, right? It's the same idea for hockey. You love to hate people, you love to cheer on people, and to see a Toronto-Montreal series go 6 or 7 games, and to see live people in that big stadium, that historic stadium, even though it's not as historic as the old Montreal Forum, I think would just be fat. This is the piece I have. So I don't have a lot to say other than I just want to see it a long series. Except, why is there talk that Cole Caulfield may not start the first game? Like, what is wrong? Or do you guys think that this is a ploy to play with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
It's not even him. It's also Kotkaniemi is also out.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, those 3 guys. But Mike, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, they should be grasping at any straws they can, right, to create some momentum. But really good question. I hadn't thought of that, Pavel, Jake Allen, but even as Jake described, I think it's a good point. I think, as you guys described, I think giving Jake Allen the first game is probably a good move. And if he plays well, we'll keep him going and give more time for Price to get ready. But I agree. I think Caulfield should be playing. And Kotkaniemi, easy for you to say, should probably be playing as well. But yeah, I think they need to inject some hope in the lineup. But that being said, we don't know the room. Who knows? Maybe the guys are comfortable playing a certain way. But I will say, I think if Shea Weber, I don't know how he's injured or what's going on, but if he can play 27, 28 miracle minutes a night,
wow,
and cross-check the heck out of, Austin Matthews every time he gets close to the net, then those sorts of things might play into some hope for Montreal.
Wow.
But I agree with you, Jake. Even as you're describing the Montreal-Toronto series, I was just getting goosebumps thinking about what that might be like. So, yeah, 100% agree with you.
Okay, so we got 2 series we only have time left for. We only got about maximum 8 to 10 minutes here, guys. So Pavel, we need to cover the Oilers series, and let's talk about the Florida series, first time ever. Where do you want to start?
Let's do Florida. Let's do Oilers. Oilers, and says we're in the North Division. So, Jake, you've got a bunch of memorabilia behind you. It seems like you're kind of an Oilers fan, kind of a bandwagon fan, I think. But what are your thoughts on the Oilers-Jets series? Because, you don't want to rule out the Jets with what they're bringing back. You don't want to rule up Vezina, Connor Hellebuck. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think the Oilers are downplaying, and they're trying to respect the Jets. Everybody that is paying any attention to this series knows the Oilers won the season series 7-2, including winning the last 6 straight. To put it shortly, the Oilers own the Jets, much like the Leafs own the Oilers this year. So the play, it's going to come down to almost a Connor versus Connor. It's going to be Connor McDavid versus Connor Hellebuck. He's not had a super great year, but he's a Vezina Trophy winner in the past. I think that how long the Jets last is going to be entirely based on how much scoring they can get from their banged-up lineup and how Connor Hellebuck does in the series. If he stands on his head, he's going to steal a couple games. A hot goalie is the recipe, the greatest recipe for success in the playoffs, as we've seen time and time again in past series before. The Jets are definitely banged up. Pierre-Luc Dubois is not going to start this series. And, oh, shoot, someone else is out.
Ehlers. Nikolai
Ehlers is not playing either.
He's not back yet, eh?
No.
Like, we're talking 2 top 6 forwards for them. Like, that's like the equivalent of just taking like Cooley Arvey out or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins from the Oilers roster. Like, those are massive holes. So I think the Jets are not even like, it's going to sound like such a homer pick, but I don't think that the Jets. I'm going to predict Hellebuyck steals them a game. I'm going to say 5 or 6 game series max for the Oilers.
Wow.
See, I thought you were going to compare Kyle Connor versus Connor McDavid. Connor versus Connor.
It's
saying that's a Connor.
It's Connor versus Connor times 2.
Oh, jeez.
But Mike, what do you think the Winnipeg Jets have to do to combat that two-headed beast that is Draisaitl and McDavid?
Well, I interested in your guys' opinions, but the trap was pretty popular back in the 90s, especially with New Jersey. And I have to wonder if the Jets are capable of, because Ehlers is out, Andrew Kopp is out, and I didn't know Dubois was out. That's a huge one.
That's huge.
But with that in mind, can they modify the way they play and play a trap game? It kind of goes against the grain of the culture of the team. But I think the only chance they have to take this beyond 5 games is to play a defense first approach. Otherwise, well, we've seen Connor all year, right? And Dry all year. It's going to be really difficult to contain those guys.
So Evan, let's say that the Winnipeg Jets defense, like the DeMello and Pionk, were able to subside Connor and Draisaitl. Who out of the Oilers is going to come out and need to score or perform or have a game-breaking series in order to perform to become that new face of the franchise?
Yeah, you're talking about for the Oilers, right?
For the Oilers, yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting because this season Connor McDavid literally has learned some new things and how to fight back through the rough stuff, which is what we saw in his 2017 appearance. He didn't do as well. I think this year, because they're going to play him hard, but interesting enough, we know that if they isolate Draisaitl and McDavid, the defense has been the one scoring, not the depth. But I don't think it's the depth. They're going to make those bottom 6 try to just hold their own. This is the difference maker. This is my prediction in this series. The difference maker is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, because you can stop the other 2, but if Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and he is in a contract position, whether he stays with Edmonton or leaves, this is his chance to make the big bucks and when it counts. And he has put how many years in? He's got 6. He's got 9 years into this. This is, I think, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will be the difference. What's that? Sorry.
I think he's 10 years in, actually.
This will be his 10th year. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, at the end of his contract. So, but I mean, I think that's the difference. But I'm going to say that Connor Hellebuyck is the only thing that's going to hold this one together. I think they just don't have an answer for the superstars, Pavel. And I think that I think it's a 5-game series. But if Connor Hellebuyck is able to stop Draisaitl and McDavid. I keep acting like I forget McDavid. So this is something that I by the way, I just want to tell those who follow me on Twitter, those who follow our show or watch, I am frustrated with people saying the North Division is a weakest division in the NHL. And they want to say because they keep beating up on the bad teams. They need to go look at the goals against, where people have been getting all their scoring stats from, with every other team outside of the North Division. Go look at goals for in the league. I'm not going to do it for you. Take the time, do it yourself. And look at the growing curve of the players like Marner and Matthews and McDavid and Draisaitl. Forget about the North Division. Before the North Division, they were already proving their point. I'm going to say this: the North Division winners go into the Stanley Cup.
Well, that's bold.
Yeah, that means they're getting through Vegas or Colorado. That's right. So, okay, Pavel.
Don't they get reseeded? I could be wrong, but Jake, Evan, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you guys get reseeded.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Correct. Well, Edmonton would go up against Colorado.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about Toronto.
First.
Toronto would probably go up against Carolina.
Yeah, right. You might be right. You might be right off that, but Okay, I'm going to take
That's
that.
my only thing. So just one final before we move on. Mike and Jake, what are your thoughts on Mike Smith? And Mike, you would know this a little bit better. Potentially having a Tim Thomas season this year, given his age, and that randomly, even last year with Hudobin, having like an older goalie somehow outperforming beyond expectation in the playoffs, which we know Tim Thomas in 2011, like as you alluded to earlier, like he just had an incredible year. Like nobody expected it.
Yeah, well, look at some of the key goalies in the league right now. They're all in the mature 30s. It makes you wonder what it takes to be a successful goal in the NHL today. You know, so you've got, I mean, how old is Fleury? 30,
34, 35?
35?
34, 35.
So I don't think this is a unique thing, and I you know, it's a narrative that's overplayed perhaps, but I think players take care of themselves better than they used to. And Mike Smith obviously has a passion. And by the way, funny story, my wife's a big Oilers fan. Anytime there's a Mike Smith meme on Facebook, she'll say, "I love that guy."
By the way, Fleury is 36 years old.
Oh, 36.
36 years old.
Head up to.
Wow.
So Mike, you're gonna do a whole research project for us in the future about goaltender age and performance in the playoffs, right? Like a whole insight into it, which we'd love to present here on the show.
I'll make a note.
Hey,
that's a great idea, pal.
Get this. So talking about Fleury, NHL, 17 years, 913 average regular season, 912 in 15 years in the playoffs with 147 games. Wow.
Unreal.
Yeah. He started the last 15 playoff seasons in a row, which is a big record for him.
Amazing.
Guys, I hate to end this conversation, but we got 3 minutes to talk about Florida. Jacob, do you want to take it away? Give us a quick hot take. I know you've been dying for this one.
Oh, man. Do you know what? If we had recorded this on Sunday before before the series started, I would have come in here hot and heavy with a Joel Quenneville as the X factor in that series and talked a really hard game about how the underdogs, the little brother from Florida, was going to make their mark and finally get out of the shadow that is the big bad defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Alas, after arguably the most exciting game one, and also the only first game that didn't go to overtime, that 5-4 win by the Lightning. I was like, okay, awesome. The series still looks great. All the stars came out to score. This is awesome. Well, and then I don't know, the 3-1. Game 2 yesterday is just like a little womp womp. So I feel bad for the increasing fans in Florida that turned out and reminded us all of how amazing having fans in the stands is. Like it felt weird watching fans at a Panthers game because the Panthers don't normally draw a lot of fans. So I was like, whoa, this is a packed house in Florida.
Maybe this is what Florida needed to get interested in hockey in Miami, right? You know, wouldn't it be the story to see them come back and win this series though still? Whoa, that would be amazing. And then we could say Jacob said it on Two Guys in Hockey Talk.
So Jacob, I want to know your hot take. Do you think that Ryan McDonough should have gotten a suspension or a fine for his hit on Duclair, given what Sam Bennett got for his hit?
If you're going to call an eye for an eye, yes. I'm a little surprised that he didn't. But if you're, I don't know. If you're going to call one that's similar, then you should call both. You either call them both or you don't call either. Yeah. So just be consistent with it. Otherwise, you're setting a dangerous precedent in the playoffs for other referees to follow, or the NHL player safety. Player safety.
Yeah, NHL player safety. Yeah, okay, and then Mike,
player safety. There we go.
Yeah. So Mike, then if you're Joe Quenneville, which we know you're better than him, of course, and you're coaching that bench, who are you putting in net in Game 3? Are you putting Chris Drieger or are you putting Bobrovsky, your 10 plus, I think $11+ million goalie, in net?
Game 2, Drieger's a great story. You know, it turned 27 on the 18th of May. His last playoff game, literally his last playoff game, was with the Calgary Hitmen in 2013. So it's been 8 years. He's never had a professional playoff game. He's been Mr. Suitcase in ECHL, AHL last few years. Wow. This is a guy, I bet you the room loves him. His save percentage was better. He had 3 shutouts this year. Bobo had none. So I think it's showing lots of kahunas on the part of Quenneville to start him, and I would keep running with him. I think he's a big hope for them. A goalie's going to have to save them because Tampa Bay, I didn't think Kucherov and Stammer were going to be as good as they are now. They are a juggernaut, and I think anybody that beats them is going to have a goalie play lights out. And I'd pick Drieger for that role.
Fair enough. And Evan, do you think Tampa Bay Lightning are playing around with cap circumvention, given that they've been able to bring Kucherov and Stamkos back? No problem. And they're $17 million off the cap. Well, it's true.
Oh, my God. Well, we've talked about this off air. I absolutely hate they've got away with this, just like I hated what happened with Kovalchuk. Yeah, they lost a first-round pick years ago. I know it's different, but it's still circumventing. And we knew 2 months ago he was out practicing. Awesome if you're a Tampa fan, because if I was an Oiler fan or a Leafs fan for McDavid or Matthews, same thing, you want him in. But my idea is I believe you got to play at least 9 or 10 games, which will count against the cap, in a season to be eligible for the NHL playoffs. That's my take. Oh, by the way, Drager in this Florida series. So today he had like a 927 save percentage today yesterday in his game. So yeah, that's like crazy. I think I agree with Mike. You got to run with it. But I'm really hoping I can see these guys come back because I really want to see where this thing goes. I think it's going to get more heated as each game goes. Well,
that's fair. So, Jake, you wouldn't put Spencer Knight in, given that he has a full .000 series this year?
Man, do you know what? If Chris Drieger had not played well in yesterday in Game 2, then I would have absolutely said roll the dice and throw Spencer Knight in. What else do you have to lose? You're going to go into Tampa, into the defending champs layer, and what have you got to lose at that point? I mean, Bobrovsky hasn't been good this year, so I would have said roll the dice. But Chris Drieger's your dude. I would at this point run with the hot hand in the playoffs. That's always the recipe for success. So, and I'm just. I was going to do that hot take of the Florida pulling the upset, but that's until I watched Kucherov, literally no rust whatsoever. Didn't miss a beat. 2 goals and an assist in Game 1, all on the power play. Their power play is unbelievable already, and then you add Kucherov to it. Okay, game over.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is pretty much a wrap. We've got a little bit extended into our overtime here. We're going to be running approximately 45-minute shows for the NHL Playoff Edition because we're running long time. When you're talking NHL playoffs, we are talking heat and emotion and excitement. So, Mike, any last thought you have before we go today?
Well, I see Carolina and Colorado in the finals. I call it the 2Cs final, and each team has 4 syllables in their name. I'm not sure if that means anything, but it's a funny little thing. But that's what I see going to the final.
Okay, Jacob.
I'm honestly gonna go Avs Lightning. It would make my buddy really happy to see the Avs, and he would run his whole Nathan McKinnon. He would take Nathan McKinnon over Connor McDavid, and the better team is probably the route he would go. And Tampa has some unfinished business as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see. I like underdog stories, but it's hard to bet against juggernauts like those two teams this year.
Okay, Pavel, what are you going with?
I'm going with the 2006 rematch, Carolina versus Edmonton. And we're going to see a beautiful time where Connor McDavid lifts the Stanley Cup over Svechnikov and Aho. But I'm also hoping that you can grow a beard because honestly, it's playoff time, Evan. But your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm going to get a fake beard next week, so you just leave me the hell alone. Guys, I'm going to pull the biggest homer of anything. My two favorite teams have always been Edmonton and Pittsburgh, and I would love to see a Crosby McDavid because we'll probably never get that again in history if it doesn't happen this year. Well, that's a wrap, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here today at Two Guys in Hockey Talk in our NHL Playoff Edition. Jacob, Mike, you guys have a great one. In the meantime,
make sure to go like, subscribe, and sign up. Send your thoughts, ideas. Let us know what your predictions are for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Jacob and Mike, thanks for joining us on the show again. And Evan, as you like to take us out.
In the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe.
Have a great one. Cheers.